Welcome aboard to the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Still at it. We promise we'll talk hockey in between Sam's updates on Ohtani, but we're glad you're aboard wherever you're watching and listening. Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6 Eastern. And you can always download us wherever you get your pod if you can't catch us live and in person. And give us a text if you want. We'll get them in today, tomorrow, Off the Rails Friday, right around the corner. But do we start on Sammy? Just a quick update. Just a word of advice to all of you. If anything was to break here at the Rogers campus on Blue Jay News, we will be
ejected through the roof.
Third and long in the CFL or fourth and long in the NFL.
I think there is probably phone calls and conversations going up like right above us.
Yeah.
Like right over there somewhere. So I've got some thoughts on this.
Okay.
Okay. I hope Shohei's not listening to this.
Oh.
But
I'm sure he is.
He's a big hockey guy.
He's a huge hockey guy.
I just worry because I am very impressed with how all in the Toronto Blue Jays have been in this and how long down for a non-traditional baseball market for them to be this far down the road and in the fight this long, to me, is incredibly impressive. Okay. And I don't want the usual, the Jays came second place, like that stuff. Like I've been as snarky about that as possible.
Yeah. I started the same way.
But I've been snarky.
I've
I've been snarky about that. But I am giving them full 100% credit for still being in this fight and still not having an announcement that he signed with the Angels or the Dodgers. It's really impressive. But
okay, all right.
But the but is on the Shohei side because I think myself, and I'm not sure how a lot of Jays fans are feeling. You can text me if you want. I am very concerned about what the rest of this offseason is going to look like for the Toronto Blue Jays after they've rightfully poured so much time and effort into trying to land Shohei Ohtani.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that he will be rather hated here if he doesn't sign. Like, I think there will be a real sort of, because he's
handcuffed them.
He's holding their
and let Soto go to the Yankees.
He's holding their offseason. He's holding their offseason hostage a little bit here, boys.
I'm not a guy that followed him daily, but I don't think he's the type of personality that you can hang a hatred on.
Oh, I'll show you how.
No,
buddy.
No.
100%.
Yes, he's going to do it. He's already said
I'm telling you right now, if he doesn't
He has told me if he doesn't do it now, he's going to hate him.
He will be one of my least favorite athletes of all time because he's completely, he's just led us down this road. And I've seen the Japanese correspondent is former Blue Jay, Munenori Kawasaki, and I'm seeing pictures of him
by the way.
I'm seeing pictures with him with Yusei Kikuchi.
When he was a Jay.
It's like,
Bush party.
we're getting all the little breadcrumbs and, passing saying he's really impressed with the Jays, and they're all saying this stuff. And if he just signs with the Dodgers, hate.
But I love
immediate hate.
Because if he's in, Sammy's like, you be my girlfriend? Like,
I'm doe eyes immediately.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, and I don't know if a lot of Jays fans feel the same way as me.
It's gone too far
it's
for you.
It's flipping a little bit here. Like, a decision's got to be made at some point.
We get the sense.
Other people have
so
to.
far.
Well, they have to go along here. Other teams have to make decisions. It's like, you have to sign guys. You need to field a roster.
And the sense is it will happen this weekend. By the end of the weekend, he'll make a decision. Now, when I first heard the news and they warned us or started to warn us, I thought it was just a play for the agent. But there is a sense out there now that the Jays have put together such a serious offer that it may be one that you can't refuse, and it may have blown everything out of the water.
Are these? Are you reporting this, Skipper? Because you can't report it because in case old Shohei hears, he'll be like, you can't leak.
Yes, sometimes I pull an Elliot and I hide behind a plant, especially in this building.
So they're preparing the big enchilada for him. It's the big one.
It would take negotiations to another level, I think, in the world of buying a player.
So
Someone told me under this roof they believe that it would be like buying a company.
Can I tell you the most insane thing about this? This is the same money they're going to give Jon Rahm to go play like a few golf tournaments in the Live.
Yeah.
What's he getting?
600
million. They're going to give him to join Live. And presumably he's tied to, I don't know, a couple of years to play in their events or whatever. But
Longley mentioned it in the Toronto Sun yesterday that or maybe it was the other. I don't know. The Ohtani watch has been so many days. I can't remember what day it was. But that the offer, he's like, mentioned the B word, getting up near the B word Canadian. Like, US
Canadian,
dollars. Yeah, it's
600 is not far off, or 900.
So make the decision.
They recently bought another company for, what, $25 billion?
Yeah, we just picked up Shaw. Good for us.
Just make.
So what
else you got?
Make the decision. Stop holding everybody's offseason hostage, okay? That's my only thing, Shohei.
Yeah.
And I know you're not watching, but, we want to love you.
Listen.
We want to love you.
I saw a picture of him in a Ducks jersey. He's worn an NHL kit before.
But Ducks, that's in at the Anaheim, close to LA, and I don't want that.
Do you think by this afternoon he's going to ask somebody, who is this Sammy?
This
who's
McKee.
telling me
who is this?
To hurry up.
Yeah, is this someone I should know? Yeah.
I will love you more than anything, Shohei. You will be my most favorite athlete. I will love you.
In the meantime, 13 games on tap, 6 of the 7 Canadian teams in action, including the Battle of Ontario. Finally, we've got a game for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Good match tonight, too.
Yeah.
Sens are fast. Leafs are rested. I expect pace tonight. I really do.
I'm excited about tonight's game.
Yeah, me too.
You want another McKee's gripe? I'm sorry that I'm griping today.
Yeah. I watched Family Guy here. What grinds your gears?
I watched the Oilers last night.
You know what really grinds my gears?
There you go. We talk about a lot of the mistakes and misreads that Kyle Dubas made while he was here. And he made a lot of good moves while he was here. And he made he did a lot of good things. But any general manager is going to have some mistakes.
Yeah.
I think at the top of the list of the mistakes he made was letting Zach Hyman go.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a few.
But Zach Hyman, to me,
that's a big one for sure.
He is unbelievable.
His 360 out of the corner.
Great observation.
Last night.
Spins off a check and takes it where?
And stuffs it.
Stuffs it.
Absolutely stuffs it. That he looked like an NBA power center.
Yeah, so he had his career high with the Leafs was 41 points in 71 games. Great forechecker, great PK guy. But then he goes to Edmonton, 27 goals his first year there, 36 goals last year. This year, he's on pace for 55. He's got 15 goals in 22 games. His pace right now is 55, 41, 96 points. But I know he's not going to get that.
It was never with me about the point production with him. It was just, you guys watched him play here.
He stopped the opposing forecheck every time he was down the ice.
And there's just no one on the team that played the way he did. He was such an outlier in terms of heart and passion and just general dog in him, I guess you would say. And it's just such a huge mistake to let him go. And the contract is a 10 out of 10 steal.
He has 4.5 years left, and he's 31 years old.
Yeah, but for what the Leafs are trying to do and what the Oilers are trying to do at the same time, you're not worried about those the last years. You're getting the prime years, the most important time.
The biggest issue with Kyle back then and other examples, and maybe we're seeing, even though Kyle's gone, maybe the Leafs are making another mistake here, is just not getting ahead of it fast enough. And the moment that you knew that maybe Babcock had Hyman up on a top line or a top 6 line, that his game was going to another level, and you needed to get ahead of his UFA.
Yeah.
And even if you thought at the time that you were going to spend $500,000 more than you would have liked to, it would have still been a better alternative than letting him walk or get to that place where he can go somewhere else. And I've told you this. I'm a firm believer when you talk about these type of players that have shown enough, that the price of poker doesn't go down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing's going to happen to Willie. And I don't know if you've kind of seeing the temperatures. You sent me an article, which we all found very
Yeah,
interesting.
Anthony Petrelli.
Yeah,
Good
shout
one.
out.
But
Yet another one.
what is just clear on it is that you take a little small sample of his last 5 games, and what does he have? 2 points?
Yeah.
Now
Slow
it's
down.
like, hey, remember everybody said he was like 11 or 12? Be careful now because you're not sure what you're getting. And now there's some narrative out there on just 5 games.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the pace he was on was so out of line with everything else he had done in his career at age 28. So I think it's reasonable to look at that early stretch of play and say, you know, he's not suddenly going to be 110 point, top 5 scorer in the NHL. This sort of takes him back to, more in line with where we thought he might be. In Petrelli's piece, he compared his contract to Philip Forsberg and Johnny Gaudreau, guys in the $9 million range.
Or Panarin or Pasternak.
It depends if you're
that
the
was
agent
2
of the
weeks
team.
ago.
Yeah.
Coming out of Sweden, everybody was like, this guy's a top 10 player, and he is now in that conversation.
But
now
you
we're pulling.
always argue from this side of it. Do you
now we're
not see
pulling
the
back.
other side of it? Do you not see
I'd
the
be scared
contracts
to
that
death.
he's equal with?
I'd be scared to death right now if I was the Leafs, because you don't know what it's going to take, and you don't know, and you'd be scared that he is more Forsberg than he is Panarin.
For sure. Yeah, and his career to this date, he's never been more than a point per game guy. For you to say that
But the majority of this season puts him in the top 10. It's not Forsberg.
the majority of the season was 17 hockey games. He's got 500 in his career. So do you think that he is a top 10 player in the NHL, or do you think he's closer to these guys who are...
I'd be scared to death to go 11 or 12 $million dollars, but
for sure.
I don't know how you couldn't.
But you can still give him that.
It's not today's
You can still you still might have to give him that, even though you think the comparables would have him in that second tier.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure.
Well, the thing that stuck out to me about this piece, and it's like just seeing it laid out in front of me, was the Lewis Gross aspect of this, where it's like you think, oh, maybe they're just going to get it done, the number's going to get met, but it's like maybe that's not what they're looking for, and that's not what the advice is, and it's like that part of it to me is what jumped out, that maybe they just want to go to UFA.
Well, if
maybe they want to see, it's not
it's like if they're going to overpay you, you can sign, but otherwise, a lot of Lewis Gross's clients tend to make it to UFA,
which I thought was like that. Just seeing them listed out there, Brandon Saad, Krug, Dumoulin, Nolachari, Connor. I know these guys aren't in the same class, but a lot of them just go instead of signing with their old team. Anyways,
but they've been down this path before. Obviously, he wasn't a UFA. He was a restricted free agent, but it still cost 2 months of the season, 2.5 months. So they know they're dealing with an agent that has a comfort zone to go right to the very end.
Yeah.
And
now, do they wait for a Chicago Blackhawk team to say to the Leafs, you want to match it? Because this is where we're at. Is that where it's going to head?
Well, sure. And, the scary part, again, mentioned in this piece is just that if you lose Willie Nylander, let's say you're okay, we value the cap space, or we're going to trade him at the deadline, whatever. If you don't have Willie Nylander on your roster, and then it's Mitch Marner's turn for negotiations, you're screwed because you can't lose them both. So all of a sudden, Mitch has you up against the wall at that point where you're saying, we got to keep one of our elite wingers, our game breakers, our guy who plays the most minutes, and so that changes things where. So
do you pick one now, you pick one later, or you try to find a way to get them both?
You make a decision. You either pick one, if that's whatever, or you sign Willie for the extra 500 that he's looking for.
Do you see any world at all where they think about moving him in March?
Willie?
Yes. Because I don't.
The only reason I would say yes is because Tree Living has made it clear he doesn't want to do the Gaudreau thing again, where he just gets, I can't do anything and the guy just leaves.
It's remarkable how similar the situation is. To think about, to have a guy that when moved from one situation to come into another situation with the same, like a really elite player that's on the last year with like, they have the same agent?
I think so. Louis Gross. Yeah.
Louis Gross. So it's like same. I can't think of many situations. Like I feels like he's having Groundhog Day, like deja vu here.
And I think both guys probably want to go to UFA, and so it's like overpay me, or I'll just go to UFA, and you're in a tough spot at that point. You know, one of the pieces of advice that I heard Duba say a lot, and we've heard in this market a lot, was if you have time, use it. That was like a Lou Lamoriello staple that was passed down to Kyle, and it has burned them. It has not been a beneficial. You talk about Hyman, you know, all these guys.
Everything's great.
That theory has been proven worth nothing.
I think what will also play I think the most important part in all of this is where are they as a team between now and the trade deadline? Have they, as is, stepped up to now be thought of as a real contending team, or are they going to be mid? And if in fact they kind of falter a little bit in January and February, and by chance there is question marks whether or not they could even be a thought that they could miss the playoffs, would that change your outlook on let's do something on the pot or get off of it?
I had a thought today where I was like, you know, if
What do
they
you do in the pot?
if they were, I may have been there when I had this.
Where's the
thought.
Vasilevsky drop when you need it?
If they're skimming along and we are, you know, they're 500 between now and for the next couple months or whatever. You talk about the choice between Willie or Mitch. You know, what would happen if you decided we're just going to move both? We're, you know, both these negotiations, we're worried about the cost.
This guy, you're just.
I'm saying they make a combined $18 million. You could get a massive haul. Mitch Marner still has another year.
Yeah.
You get 2 playoff runs.
Those deals aren't out there. They're not out there. Those are.
But I'm saying whatever the deal may be it a first, a prospect, you know, whatever it would be, there wouldn't be nothing if you put Mitch Marner out there. The value of the cap space when everyone's cap strapped, you know, there's a lot of big UFAs coming up. I wonder how, if you wanted to remake the look of the team and just said,
oh, you're talking about blowing everything up.
But I don't think you're not giving up. You are blowing everything up, no doubt about it. You are not doing a reno. You're doing a blow down and rebuild. But you still have a lot of money to build a nice home with, I feel like.
And I think the thing that's lost in all this is that this is a different general manager that may have a different idea of what a hockey team. We all got so used to the core four and Kyle Dubas being tied to that.
But
like just because that's there doesn't mean you have to keep going with it.
But you're also suggesting too that, you know, Brad's been hired to completely take control, and that's not that's his Brendan Shanahan now 10 years, who has been behind the core four that you could win with these guys, and that's why we invested all this money in. And Brad came in and said to Brendan Shanahan, let's blow this thing up tomorrow, like you just alluded to. What's Brendan going to say? You think Brendan gets another chance?
To be the GM, no?
Does Brendan get another chance to rebuild it?
We
Does
do
he
not
go back
agree.
to the board at MLSE and say, hey, I know it didn't work out for the first 10 years, but give me another 3 or 4 and
we
I'm
have
good
an
to
idea.
go?
That plan I've sold you, what if we did the opposite?
So that's why I believe that this is not this
would never go that
it would
direction.
never go that way. But if in fact it looks like the present roster as is just backstroking here for the next 20 or 30 games, something's got to give to say you really want to go into a potential first round like this.
Yeah. You know, what's so funny, too, is we talk about how this is not the same GM, and I understand that he's not going to, maybe he's not going to tear down the house and rebuild it, but the names you hear associated with the team are so different. You know, today was Rasmus Ristolainen. Is that right? Ristolainen?
Yes.
I don't know if it's Rasmus.
Who at one time was seen as a top shutdown, little bit of offense, defenseman, top 10 draft pick.
Yeah.
Definitely some pedigree there with him.
Real strong pedigree.
That might be where it ends.
He's probably been in the league, 10, 11 years?
Is it that long?
Yes.
Wow.
But he's not old by any
Making
stretch.
5.
He's
plus
29.
5.1.
29 years old,
Shoots right. 6'4".
big,
208
strong
pounds.
guy. Like, I understand why there would be interest in this guy.
Give me his career plus minus.
It's
Dan.
not good.
Give it to me.
It doesn't add it up on Hockey DB, but I'll say some of the standout years.
I can see
Minus 41 1 year.
Oh my God.
I can see the intrigue in a guy like that
Mm,
for the Leafs. Mid,
I'm baffled by that.
but
like, I don't think I want that.
just
at
an
all.
underachiever that you might be able to buy cheap.
Kip, he's got
He's
a
with the
contract
Phila-
till 2027.
I know, but that's where you get the Philadelphia Flyers now to eat. What is he at? 5'1"?
$5.1 million. And he's not very good. No, he hasn't been very good. I know he's having a good
Yeah.
year. He is having a good season.
No. He just started. He missed he missed training camp. He missed the month of November. This guy's behind the 8 ball. I think he's only played 5 games.
He's
Yeah,
played
the
5
games he's played, people have liked. That's all I know. It's
But I'll tell you one thing I do not like.
Mm,
How many playoff games has he played?
0.
so 0 playoff games. He's
5
career.
AHL
Kip, his plus minus career is minus 175.
That's
Is that a record?
no.
Has anyone been more minus career?
Minus 175.
If Brad Treliving can steal this guy, he might be.
Steal.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Like for
I get-
50%.
Yeah. Okay, and
For
all of a sudden,
50%.
he costs you 2.5. He's on your third pair.
2.5.
I can live.
Down. 50? Maybe how about 60? What's the most you can
Yeah,
retain?
that is the most.
50 is
50
the most.
million?
Yeah.
Double retention?
There you go.
But he's.
Yeah.
Come on. Do the Leafs need another guy that's with 0 playoff experience?
This is my point, though, is that Treliving, all the names he brought in this offseason, Klingberg was almost a Norris name, and Max Domi's a big name with his father and his, London Knights and all that. Reeves is a big name. Like these names seem appealing to Treliving.
Which was the
Dubas
opposite
was
of- yeah.
Labushkin and Kampf.
Zach
And
Aston Reese
guys that he would
and-
get them, and you're like, where has he been playing?
Yeah.
It's a different type of guy they're after.
Even Bunting.
Yeah, well, they
Or-
would have known him from junior, but
For
we
sure.
didn't hear in
No,
Toronto. It was
yeah.
like, who's that? Yeah. He's in Arizona.
Any decent clips out of Sheldon?
I was just looking at the worst plus minus
All time.
in NHL. Well, I can only quickly look up the worst single season. Bill Mickelson, dash 82. With
Dash
the-
82.
With the,
One per night.
with the 74-75 Washington Capitals. So
All right.
there you go. I think one worth playing would be the Bob Stewart minus
We have
257.
a minus 257 Bob Stewart all time is what I'm getting in my ear.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So it's not that far
He's
off.
tracking.
Yeah.
He's tracking.
The one about Wall, he got quite asked about if he's worried about Wall's workload, and he kind of talked about the goaltending situation and that. So I think that may be worth playing before we break and get to Yorkie. So we want to play clip number 5 there on Joe Wall. Okay.
Sammy, what's going on?
Finding the Joe Wall clip. By the way, so while they're looking for that, I read Joshua Cloak's article on Joseph Woll and his. He's an interesting guy. You guys have told me that all goalies are weird, and my contention is not that Woll is weird. It's that he's an interesting, unique, kind of different guy. He apparently has bought like a 7,000 piece Lego set. He is more so than driving excited about a Jaguar. He's excited about Lego. He's into. He found out that the Ryan O'Reilly trade happened for the Leafs last year when he got to the room and saw O'Reilly's number on the board.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, he is quite a different guy. And I think that's fascinating and not your usual type of goalie weird is my point.
All right, Derek Brandale, our trusted button pusher upstairs, has found the clip.
Just finished a stretch of 7 games in 25 days as a team, so I'm not worried right now about anybody being burnt out, that's for sure. But as I mentioned, with us getting busier, you're going to need 2 goaltenders for sure. And obviously it's unfortunate that Samsonov has been ill the last week or so and has fought that bug and hasn't been able to skate or get much done on practice days. Felt he was making good progress with his time in practices and such while Wall was playing before he was sick. But the last week has been real tough on him, and he's certainly lost time in the net. So it's important we build him back up because we're going to need him. And then in the meantime, having 3 guys on the roster, with Jones here, just shows the depth that we have.
No, he's not nervous yet.
Yeah. Yeah, they got 3 guys. I am curious if we'll see a Martin Jones run of play at any time.
Well, I mean, it seems like Samson's pretty sick. And they got a back-to-back Monday, Tuesday. Would he be ready to rock for one of those? Samsonov?
They got like 9 games right up until Christmas, I think. Like it's busy.
Yeah.
So I'll get you to play the first clip, Derek, because first of all, he was asked about his little outburst in practice, and he kind of responded to that, but then talked about how excited to play. So if we play the clip 1, he talks about how much they're going to play.
It was just like any other practice. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but in terms of the game itself, we're excited to play. It's a busy stretch here for us. We played 7 games in the last 25 days, and now we're going to go and play 6 in the next 10 days. So it's more of what we're all used to in terms of the NHL. So the guys are excited about it, and good chance to start out on the road here. And want to build on the game we played against Boston the other night.
So
you can tell now that he's really wily on what I want to put out there and what I want to deal with. And he could have turned around easily and said, yeah, I did not like what I saw in practice. Yeah. And I addressed it. And now if they go lay an egg tonight, there's still going to be a story, but it's not an accumulated story on linking it directly to his quotes off practice. So he snuffs that storyline out.
He's laying the groundwork.
He also is kind of out in front of it if they lay an egg today, where he can go, I was on it. I yelled at him. Yeah. At this point, it's up to the players. I was there.
Wow.
Saw it coming.
Yeah. You can play 2 sides of it, but I think, I don't know, in this market, you can just tell now he's a lot more wily on what he wants out there and what the storyline is and what he knows that certain people can run with. And he wanted nothing to do with that, is my point, right? At least today.
It is funny, right? Like a coach yelling in practice is like, if you ask, like, what does an NHL coach do, like what their role is, like that's one of the 5 things they do.
Scream at the guys.
They yell at the guys in practice. And if you're in like 28 other markets, that's just a part of coaching. But here it's like,
good segue into my article today in the Toronto Star on too many men on the ice. And they didn't have one last Saturday, but you go through the numbers and they're like 8 and 22 games is like off the charts.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Then you dig down a little further and they were in the top 10 last year at 16. And then the year before, I think they led. And over the course of 3 years, no team has had more bench minors, too many men on the ice, than your Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Now,
did you reach a conclusion?
Now,
40 doesn't care. 40
you can point the finger at the players for sure, but as far as the true accountability, there's only one general on the bench.
Yeah.
And it's the head coach, and the Bucks got to stop there.
Yeah, I mean, we have Sam's laughing because I agree, and it's totally noteworthy. It's just I don't have a solution for it. They should stop doing that.
No, absolutely. And I've got some good ideas.
Yeah,
pay attention, and you know what? I did put Adam Oates in the article today as well.
He had some good insight on that. He actually had a lot of the practice,
really,
right?
Yeah. We got a lot of feedback. I don't know about you guys, but I got a ton of feedback on Adam Oates'
people loved it.
Interview on our show yesterday. And if you didn't catch it, please download on a podcast yesterday's show.
Yesterday? Was it 2 days ago?
I don't know.
Buddy, idea.
It was Treliving yesterday and Gordo and
2 days
and
ago.
Jammer.
Yeah. You'll find it.
Yeah, you'll find it. Go look
wherever you just look up Adam Oates, and it's some interesting stuff. But it's a reminder that, listen, you can be in the best league in the world, and you could still have trouble jumping off and on a bench.
Yeah. Well, and it's almost like, too, like some of the elite guys have never had to really pay fine attention to some of that stuff. Just like, what's it really matter? So it obviously does matter. And, in a league where, Florida gets into playoffs by 1 point last year, they lose a point along the way and they don't make it to the Cup final. So it's a game of inches, and that's just another important variable.
Okay, just like that. First period over on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show Leaf Edition. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Jason York, good friend of the show. He'll help us tee up the Battle of Ontario tonight. Toronto Maple Leafs, Ottawa Senators. We're just getting started here. Don't go away. As mentioned before the break, Jason York's going to join us now, co-host of Coming in Hot Sens podcast. And they are with a big win over the New York Rangers. Yeah. Let's welcome in Yorkie. How are you, pal?
I'm good, Kyper. How you doing? How you doing, Barney? Good?
Good.
Yeah, we're looking forward to tonight's game based on the vibe and the temperature before Ottawa beat the New York Rangers and after has a lot to do with maybe how good they feel maybe playing against the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. What did you see in that win over the New York Rangers that we haven't necessarily seen out of Ottawa lately?
Well, until those last two games, Kyper, the heat was cranked up pretty high in Ottawa. There was a lot of people not happy with how this team was playing. You remember the projections of this team. Most people picked Ottawa to be a playoff team, not to be sitting in last place in the East. But, I thought they were real good against the Rangers, who are arguably the best team in the league right now. They're not beating themselves anymore in the last two games. And the thing, to be honest with you, probably the biggest thing, and I always say this with teams, show me a good goalie and I'll show you a good team. And the last two games, Ottawa's had excellent goaltending. Anton Forsberg played extremely well in both of those games. So he's making saves. He's making saves he's not supposed to. And Ottawa's just playing a little bit tighter, a little bit better defensively in their own zone. And they've got three lines going now, too, fellas. And that's a big thing. They're getting a little more depth scoring. And Tarasenko probably had his best game as an Ottawa center. He and Drake Batherson showed some pretty good chemistry in that Rangers game. So, yeah, goaltending, depth scoring, and just not beating themselves.
So, I've kind of been a Sens, I don't want to say bandwagoner here, but I think they're better than their record has showed them to be. They've got a lot of talent. Those teams tend to sort it out. They're 10-10 right now, I think, but, they haven't played a whole lot of games. Are they still coming? Like, am I crazy here? Is this still a team that has a run in them and they're going to get up into that wild card conversation?
Well, Barney, we'll know that answer at the end of this month. They've got a ton of games coming up and a lot of tough ones. They're playing some legitimate top teams coming up here in December. It's a tight schedule. Well, I was looking at their games played. They've only played 20 games so far, fellas, and I think I'm looking quickly. I think that's the least in the entire NHL. Because they went over to Sweden, they missed a chunk of games, so now they're going to make them up in December, and this is going to be their season. They can't go and play 500 hockey or one game above 500 here in December. They've got to get on a run here, and I'm talking win 5 of your next 7 or 6 of your next 8. That's what it's going to take for Ottawa to get back into the playoff race. And the other thing too, guys, they made a little move. I'm sure you guys have heard. They've brought back, after 20 years, Jacques Martin's back, who was just announced yesterday as a senior advisor. So the heat was turned up, and now you've got somebody else now looking over the coach's shoulders, right?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, was Michael J. Fox's DeLorean involved in this Back to the Future, or was this
Kyper? He was my coach over 20 years ago.
Okay,
that's how long we're going back, man.
So Yorkie, explain this to me. Was this really for DJ Smith? Or was it for the fans calling for a coaching change to calm the waters down for the Ottawa Senators? Where is this? Where was Jacques Martin on this in this equation?
That's a great question. Number one, I mentioned there was a lot of heat going on. A lot of people were calling for DJ's job, for the coaching staff. Right or wrong, there's been a ton of injuries. They haven't had good goaltending. There's lots of reasons you could point for the poor start. I think the answer is a little bit of both. I think it buys the organization, because if you rewind the clock here, Michael Andlauer came in and took control of this team in the middle of training camp. Like that's tough. Like you don't get the summer to kind of put your stamp on the team and make some changes. So we all know Pierre Dorian was let go. I don't think he would have been let go if not for that mishap with Vegas and having to give up the first round pick. I think he would have finished the year, but because he came in so late and Steve Staios was announced, and Daniel Alfredsson was announced, I just think he's slowly putting his stamp on the team. And, one thing, I know some teams do this. Like I know Jacques Lemaire has been a senior advisor for some teams, Paul McLean. So it's not uncommon, fellas. Like we all know guys in the games that consult for teams and do it. So I just think I hear this all the time when Michael Andlauer speaks. He goes, he wants to give this team and the staff things they didn't have at their disposal for the last, 5-6 years under Eugene Melnyk, because I'll be honest, this team was run like an AHL team. If you go back to there, like it was the smallest hockey ops staff in the entire NHL. They didn't spend a lot of money off ice. And I think this is just the start of what Michael Andlauer is going to do. Just give better resources for your guys to have success.
Let me ask you, just in terms of if Michael wants to slow down the process just a tad, but it's slow enough that they miss the playoffs. Is there any scenario where this fan base could still give the Ottawa Senators the benefit of the doubt of missing the playoffs yet again this season for the sake of what still might be coming down the road?
Yeah, it's another good question because it's been a long time since this team's been in the playoffs. I think the answer is yes, Kyper. I think it's yes, because the loudest people is always the people, they make their voices loud, and it's not necessarily always the majority, but it is a pretty big percentage of the people in Ottawa, at least that I talk to, and I talk to on a daily basis. So I think they could handle it. But like I said, we'll see what happens at the end of this month. Like this, we'll know the answer on what happens with this team after this month. One way or another, it's going to be a lot clearer. But I do think the fans will be. It's not going to be pretty, but it is what it is. Because he took control of the team so long, he hasn't been going through this for 6 years like the fan base. This has been 3 months for Michael Andlauer and Steve Staios. So look at it this way, Kyper. The worst thing they could probably do, and we've all seen this before, right, fellas? You go in and you put a Band-Aid solution on a hockey team, and then you're hiring somebody else in the summer. I just think when they do make a move, if they are, it's going to be something that lasts for a while.
Yeah, and looking at this team, where do they need external help? Like, let's say they have a good December Yorkie. Would Staios be the guy making trades then and trying to patch holes? And where could they use bodies? I look at this decor. I know they're minus Shabbat, but it looks pretty good to me. Is it up front?
I think it's depth. I think it's down the middle. I think it's down the middle, guys. And listen, I like Tim Stützle a lot as a player, but you look at his body of work so far in the NHL. He's leading the league for forwards and ice time right now.
No,
he is at the top of the list for average ice time per game for forward. He's a great player.
Yeah,
like Kip, you play in the league. Like you don't automatically step into the National Hockey League and are a good two-way 200-foot player. That takes time. It takes time. And then you look at their next center. It's Josh Norris. He's played a whopping, it's about 175 games maybe of total NHL experience. And after that, you've got Ridley Gregg, who's a rookie. And then
Pinto
you've got
coming.
You got Pinto coming, but another guy. Like I just think people got a little bit ahead of themselves with predicting where the Senators are. I'm a firm believer. You can't win consistently in this league if you're not deep and play a good 200-foot game down the middle. And I just think that takes a little time to learn, man.
You got to wonder if they would have found a way to get Pinto signed this season, maybe what kind of different look they would have had those first 20 games.
Yeah, for sure, Kyper. It's a great point. Like, that's why Stützle was playing so much. It's like, you're the coach, you're looking down the bench. Well, get out there. It's like you're not flush with options. So no, it's a great point, and I'm with you on that one, Kyper.
How are the old dogs hanging in there for him? Claude Giroux, is he looked like himself? I was going to include Tarasenko in that, but mostly Giroux. Yeah. How has his performance been this season?
Giroux's been really good, Morning.
Yeah,
like he's found the fountain of youth here in Ottawa, and I was wondering if could he double down on what he did last year, 35 goals, and like that was one of his best seasons in a long time. But I would say he's arguably Ottawa's best 200-foot forward. He takes a lot of key draws. Like he's not a primary penalty kill, penalty killer. But if there's a face-off, he's taking it. Big draw, he's taking it. Late in the game, you need a draw, he's taking it. Like, he's just so smart, guys. Plays the game the right way, doesn't cheat, and he's been a really good sounding board for a Stützle, for a Tkachuk. He's just done a nice job of being a leader for those guys.
Hey, Yorkie, we were just discussing a name for the Leafs because they're looking for defense, and Ristolainen's name now presently long-timer with the Buffalo Sabres, now with the Philadelphia Flyers. Maybe one of the reasons why Chuck Fletcher doesn't have a job today is that $5 million contract to him. But I think his worst season was minus 41. Did you say
that is
Buffalo?
correct, sir? Yes.
And I'm not sure if that was with the wind chill factor or not. But
feels like minus 82.
How about you, man? Like, where was that plus minus, Yorkie, in your career? Sometimes can it get overvalued, or maybe?
Oh, buddy, Kyper. If I was minus 40, I would have had to get on some Ambiens or something. No way no way. There's no way you can sleep at night when you're minus 40. I'm not a big believer in the plus minus, but when you're that bad, like, that's tough. Like, everybody always plus minus doesn't matter. Yeah, it matters when you're minus 40 because everyone's looking at you, pointing the finger at you. So yeah, I think my worst might have been, I don't know, minus 10, minus 15. But that's a tough pill to swallow when you got a wind chill in the minus 40s. Yikes!
Yeah. How about the guy that kind of can hang you out to dry every once in a while with the worst line change ever, and then you step on, and then it's like it's in the net.
Come on, yeah. So
it's just, you brought up, guys. Kipper, you remember this, Bernie? Guys that were professional, like, I used to call them plus mongers. if you're a defenseman, you make your breakout pass, you're skating up the ice. Okay, we got a 3-on-2. We didn't score. Okay, change.
Yeah.
If you did score, run to the pile.
Yeah.
Start patting guys. And like back in the 90s, they didn't always get the stats right. Like, so you'd have to go to the pile and then position your number so the press box could make sure they got you for the plus.
Dude, that was junior hockey in a nutshell back, 20 years ago or whatever. Yeah, it's just the even for assists, the refs, you to go to the pile and go, who had the assist? You always had some guy in your team that throwing his number there. 12's in there.
Right? Hey, and Kipper, how about that forward that specializes on the back check and changing when he sees an outnumbered rush? Right to the bench, you step up, step on the ice for the birdie. Thanks very much.
Oh, man.
For the birdie.
Great way to just want to kill a teammate.
Yeah.
Right there.
Not good for team morale. So, Yorkie, can you handicap the Atlantic for us a little bit? It doesn't seem the Bruins maybe not quite as good as last year. Where do you believe in the Red Wings or the Panthers? Maybe the best team. What do you know? What are your thoughts in the Atlantic?
I was at first, I didn't have Boston in when I was making my predictions, and I said, you know what, Jimmy Montgomery's just such a good coach. I am surprised how well they're doing, though. That is surprising. I watched Florida play live in Ottawa. Man, it was they put the boots to Ottawa about 2 weeks ago, and I was so impressed with how hard they play. And I'll go back to my point about being a 200-foot player down the middle of the ice. Sasha Barkov, to me, I know everybody says it, but the guy's still underrated. How he plays the game. He's big, he's heavy, he's skilled, and he never cheats. Like, that guy to me is a guy you win with. And then I love Sam Bennett. Like, he's just such a little pain in the you-know-what back there. Plays hard, plays heavy. That whole team, Bobrovsky's been playing pretty good so far this year. I really like Florida and what they're doing. So that would be my team right now in the Atlanta boarding.
Hey, we're looking forward to the game tonight, man. What do you think? Give us a prediction.
I've come to this point with the Sens. I just spin a bottle because I don't know who's going to show up. I don't know who's going to show up. They are playing better. But, man, Matthews seems to really enjoy playing against Ottawa, doesn't he? Like, he just...
What are the numbers there, Sammy?
I got it right here. In 30 games against the Sens, he has 23 goals and 21 assists for 44 points. 30 games.
Talk about a cookie monster, right? He's just... his eyes just light up. So, I don't know. Ottawa's been playing good. I know the Leafs have been struggling with defensively as well. How's the goaltending been overall for the Leafs, boys? Has it been...
Depends who's in there.
It's been the Joseph Wall show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Wall's been really good. Samsonov hasn't quite found last year's form, so you'll be seeing Wall tonight.
And is there a thought that Korpisalo, he's not making 6 or 7 million, Yorkie, but he's making 4 times 20 or for 20 million. Is there a thought that maybe we jumped the gun a little bit on this guy, or not yet?
Not yet. He was pretty good to start the season. I'm a little concerned with the term of it, guys. It's a little long generally to go for a goaltender. But we'll see. Forsberg's been the better of the two lately, but Forsberg didn't have a great start. So they're just looking for one guy right now to be consistent, because so far neither one of them have been consistently good over a long span. So again, I think it's too early to say what if it was a bad deal or not. It's like I said, December is going to be very telling for this team, and that's going to be number one for the goaltenders. They got to start playing and earning those contracts.
Great stuff, Yorkie. Thanks for joining us, man. We really appreciate it. Now go
Enjoy the game, fellas.
Now go make your bed, eh? Go make your bed. That's Jason York, co-host of Coming in Hot Sens podcast.
Man, they got a schedule this month. What are you going to say?
You just make me laugh sometimes.
Why?
You're a funny guy. Make your bed. That's funny.
We've got him on Zoom call for all of you not being able to watch our show. And I don't know, was he in a hotel room, I take it?
Think so.
Yeah.
If he's not, I feel like we just judged him, but he's just in his bedroom. I don't know.
Maybe it was his bedroom. I don't know. But anyways, it looked a little messy. That's all.
The schedule for the Sens team this month, they got some tough teams in the division. They get the Leafs, then the Red Wings, the Hurricanes. They got the Dallas Stars, the Vegas Golden Knights, the Avalanche, the Penguins, the Leafs again, the Devils.
Whoa, really?
They got
he's not wrong.
Teams coming up.
Yeah. That's you come out of the other side of that and you probably know.
Yeah.
And let's just give Yorkie a little bit of love for coming on our show. He is on vacation.
Oh, he is?
In Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's straight up in Fort Lauderdale.
In his hotel.
Yeah. What a guy.
And his bed was messy.
Did he text you and tell you that he was in Fort Lauderdale?
Brandeo just told us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what a guy.
So
he's a great guy.
The other day I did this corporate event. The keeper of the cup was there, Phil Pritchard.
Oh, yeah, your boy.
Yeah. And he told me that my last year in junior, he had the privilege of presenting me with the Trans America CHL plus minus player of the year.
Phil Pritchard gave you that.
Yes.
Didn't even have the white gloves yet. He wasn't even Phil Pritchard yet.
Prior to that, they didn't even keep track. So he said it was like maybe the worst nightmare trying to keep track of a CHL plus minus.
Yeah.
And I think I ended up with like plus 62 or something.
Yeah.
It was a good number.
Yeah, you score a lot of goals. You're on a good team. That's
and it got
pretty
me
much the
nothing.
math.
They don't have
the plaque.
A watch.
They don't have the plus
Oh,
minus.
they did give me a watch.
Did
Phil did give me a watch that year.
They don't have the plus minuses on Hockey DB. For
not the cumulative.
For junior.
Boys love their plus minus.
It used to matter
stat.
a lot more than it does. It used to be a very big deal, right?
And
I think it's still a big deal to them.
Yeah, you want to look good for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But even when you play with your buddies, like if you come off early and the guy who scores like, oh, avoided the minus, like it's always like a part of the thing.
Right.
So, love it.
All right, our thanks to Jason York for joining us moments ago. Terrific stuff.
Plus 55 in North Bay.
Who?
You.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what it was. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, here for
Does me nothing right now. But we will go to break and we'll continue on our national coverage, including the Edmonton Oilers. We talked about them needing a streak. They've got one going. And we've also got head coach of Carolina not too happy.
Yes.
And Rod Brindamore. Maybe the best on-bench interview in the history of the game. We're going to play that when we come back. He usually turns my mic on, Derek Brandale.
Oh, boy.
Hot start to the national
he's a busy
hour.
guy up there.
Getting thrown under the bus on national
Do
television.
not bother
Because a
Derek
man won't
Brandale.
press his button.
Someone press it for me.
Press my button.
Come on. You guys are starting to push my buttons right now.
All right.
Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee on the national edition of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. As always, you can find us on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary.
Yes.
As sands through the hourglass, so are the Ohtani days of our lives.
Wow.
My God.
Yeah. Were you on that show?
No.
You were on a different sitcom.
Do you know what soap opera that's from?
Soap opera, right? No, I don't.
It's
Days
Young
of
and
Our
the
Lives
Restless.
is that one?
No.
What did I say? Young and the Restless?
Young and the Restless.
Days of
Good
Our
guess,
Lives?
though.
I thought it was.
Days of Our Lives.
There's.
Gretzky was on one of them. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
he was
about.
on.
Are you Gretzky? Where am I?
Gretzky was on Young and the Restless, and I was on Guiding Light.
God,
Before I
Guiding
think I
Light.
got them canceled after 40 years after my episode.
we've seen enough. They've really scraped the bottom
Are there
of the barrel.
still soap operas?
Yes.
Like, is that still a thing?
Yes.
You follow the Leafs or what? Hey now. All right.
That was really good.
Very well done.
All right, let's kick it off with Louie DeBrusk. Of course, great analyst on Sportsnet Hockey Night in Canada. Does a terrific job following the Edmonton Oilers. Louie, how are you, my friend?
Okay.
Do we have Louie?
Hey, how you doing, Kyper?
We're good, buddy.
Hey,
how
how
are
are
you?
How are you?
Good, Louis.
Good.
thanks.
We were just discussing soap operas. Louie, were you one of those guys that came home from practice?
Unbelievable. I heard that. It's amazing. I don't get a phone call all day long, but I get one when I go on a Zoom call. You know what? It's funny when you said that. To get those shows canceled, you must do something really wrong. Because those things stay forever on the air. I mean, they never die. I remember growing up, and my mom and my sister used to watch Y&R, Young and the Restless, Days of Our Lives, and you still see it on TV now. It's the same actors, for crying out loud. They've been on it for 40 plus, 50 plus years. So pretty incredible.
Wow.
And how's the soap opera in Edmonton been lately? Certainly a feel-good soap opera the last 5 games.
Yeah, you know what? It's been a difference for sure. And you look at when Chris Knobloch first took over, they won a couple of games and they went on the road and they lost 3 in a row. And you're thinking, okay, here we go again. But I have to give the team a lot of credit. They really buckled down after the loss in Carolina. That seemed to be the stimulus for them really changing their ways and digging in and understanding that it was another coaching change and they had to dig in. And they've reeled off 5 straight wins since that point in time. And they beat some really good teams. And I like the way they're winning hockey games. Yes, the top guys are going, but they're getting more from their depth. I think that's one of the first things that Knobloch did when he came on board was start to distribute that ice time a little bit more, take a little bit away from the top guys, give a little bit more to the bottom 6 and the bottom defenseman in the 6 rotation. And as a result, I think everybody's feeling a little bit more a part of it. And they're playing the right way. You can't say enough about kind of what they went through at the start of the year. That was some adversity early in a season, but I think the league right now is on notice that this team is back and playing the way that I think everybody expected them to play at the start of the year.
So how much do we attribute the early season stuff to, like, McDavid wasn't quite healthy, Ekholm maybe not quite healthy, and the goaltending just wasn't great? Like, is anything drastically different beyond those things?
Not really. I don't think so, Justin. I think that, those are big things, though, especially Connor McDavid. I mean, you look at what he's doing now, and he looks like he's healthy. You just watch him play, and I mean, for me, listen, even at 60, 70, 80%, whatever he was, he's still a fantastic hockey player and he's still one of the best players in the league, but he just didn't have that extra gear. I also think the frustration. I think the expectation that was piled on this team from within too, internally, they have a lot of expectations of themselves, but then you go into the season, they came in 2 weeks early. They were saying all the right things. They were prepared to come into the season and really go after it, and it didn't go the way you expected to go. And then these things started to pile up. The injury to McDavid, I know he hasn't talked about it, doesn't want to use it as an excuse, and I really love that about the kid. He never does. But at the same time, you could tell there was a difference. Guys are dealing with things all the time, but when you start to have that snowball effect where your top guys aren't producing, your bottom guys aren't producing, you're not getting a timely save when you need it, you're not getting that game-breaking goal at a crucial time in a game or the big penalty kill. I mean, all that stuff was going together against this team, and they just really couldn't, climb their way out of it. And sometimes it takes hitting that rock bottom being another coaching change in this organization. Since I've been with this organization in some capacity in the last 16 years, that's 11 coaches that have come in and been behind that bench.
Yeah.
For Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, it's 9. 9 coaches for him in his tenure in Edmonton. So I think it was a real look in the mirror situation for the players, and I give them a lot of credit for that. It's tough, and you could tell by their body language, by their demeanor, the way they were talking to the media. You could tell it really affected them seeing Jay Woodcroft being let go and another coach coming on board. But then I think you take a breath, you internalize, and you say, okay, it's time for us to go out there and do what we can do. And they've done that as of late. They're back to playing the way that we all expect them to play, the way they have played in the last 4 years, and why everybody thought they were a contender for the Stanley Cup, because when they do play that way, they're a very, very hard team to play against, and they can put anybody on their heels. When their A game is kicked in, there's nobody better in the league.
We're talking to Louie DeBrusk, hockey analyst with Sportsnet Hockey Night in Canada. As always, this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Part of the streak here includes a very consistent goaltender in Skinner. But, Louie, how long can they run this guy? And lots of talk about maybe Jack Campbell coming up or maybe not coming back up if he, had a hiccup again. But, whether it's Campbell back up or not, like, the focus still has to be into getting some help between the pipes, is it not?
For sure. And I think that is probably the game plan moving forward, is to allow Jack to continue to play down in Bakersfield. When he finds that game, they have a schedule right now. Will be the second of 6 straight at home with a day in between every game. So the schedule's set up pretty well to keep going with Stuart Skinner right now. And then they go on a 3-game road trip into New York where they play 3 in 5 days. So that'll be a situation where there's a back-to-back and you're like, okay, we need to get somebody else in there. Calvin Pickard has played 1 game. He came in relief to Stuart Skinner in Carolina November 22nd, 2 after giving up 4 goals early, 3 in which, I'm sorry, I'm not putting on Stuart Skinner at all because I thought there was bad coverage around the net. But, that's neither here nor there. But I would tell you that Stuart Skinner is the type of goaltender that he said it many times. He's never going to say no. He wants to play every game. He's in a groove right now. And when you have a starting goaltender that's playing the way he's playing and settling into the role, I think the schedule lines up for at least the near future to allow him to continue to do that. But there's no question, Kyper, they're going to have to figure this out. Either give Jack Campbell another opportunity, which I think is going to be the play, get him back up here, get him in some games, start to find that confidence again, because when he is playing at a high level, he's a really, really solid goaltender. So it's just a matter of finding that confidence once again. And he just didn't have it, at the start of the year. It looked like he was coming in great shape. He was ready to go. His exhibition was fantastic. But then, as did everybody else, and I really do think that Jack was a little bit of the scapegoat in the whole situation. That's just my belief. But his high-end game, I thought, was probably the better of the 2 goaltenders at the start of the season. But unfortunately, he's the one with the contract. He gets sent down to the minors. They wanted to shake things up, and it seems to have worked for right now. But I think this is a Band-Aid that's going to eventually have to be fixed, and we'll see what they do in the future to do that.
Yeah. A moment ago you were talking about how Knoblauch has given some of their depth guys, and I'm not sure that you would lump Zach Hyman in as a depth guy. I don't know that qualifies. He's a core guy, I think it's safe to say. But we opened our show up in the Leafs hour with Sam yelling about how Dubas didn't sign him and how, he's in Edmonton now. Has he been as advertised, better than expected? We got him at 27 goals, then 36, on pace for 55. How's that contract working out in Edmonton, Louie?
I think it's working out fantastic. I really do. And I think, listen, that's probably one of the reasons why he signed here, though. When I look at it, it was a smart decision by Zach Hyman, too.
Yeah.
When you look at the Edmonton Oilers and you look at down the middle, you've got Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. You've got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, if you want to throw him at the center position. He plays both center and wing. And you've got Ryan McLeod, a young centerman as well, that can play in 3rd or 4th hole, depending on how you want to allocate those other 3 centermen. If you want to use one of them on the wing, then he's the 3rd-line centerman. If they're all 3 there, he's now your 4th-line centerman, which really strengthens that spine down the middle. But for Zach, you know what? I've said it many times this year. He's been the most consistent Oiler. Even through the low part of this season at the start of the year, his work ethic, his attention to detail, the effort he gives every single night, and the way he plays the game in a north and south way, it just really is criticism proof. It's incredible. Yeah, sometimes he doesn't finish a play. Sometimes he misses the net. Every player does that. But he continually creates those chances on a regular basis because of that effort and that energy that he brings to a line. And they seem to have found a real nice chemistry. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins with McDavid and Hyman. I mean, they were snapping it around last night, and they're just gaining momentum here more and more as they play more together. And that's the other thing, too, along those lines. And I know you mentioned it, Justin, but For Knobloch coming in, he's really been able to keep lines consistent. Not as much tweaking with the lines, not as much shuffling, and I think that that's gone a long way to just stabilizing the forward group lines. And yeah, you have to make changes from time to time. Hyman missed a game because he was ill one game, and Janmark went up on that top line, did a real nice job, and you shuffle a couple down the bottom six. Adam Ernie goes in, Sam Gagner injects back in and scored a big goal in that game versus Vegas. So, they're getting production from a lot of different people right now. But I think, coming on board for Paul Coffey and for Chris Knobloch, they knew this team was fragile. They knew this team was fragile at that time when they took it over. They knew the confidence wasn't very high. So you slowly and methodically go about building up that confidence again and just implementing little things at a time that I think have really allowed this team to stabilize and start to take off.
Boy, if you had trouble as an Edmonton Oiler fan last night finding a parking spot, you may have missed one of the best power forward moves I've seen all year long, and Zach Hyman's third goal of the game. Louie, that's we followed Zach to start his pro career here. You just would have never envisioned him being able to do that, early in his career in Toronto. And I just tip my hat off to a guy that's worked so hard on his game to get it to that level. Really, he's a good kid too, right? Just a quality guy.
Kid. Yeah. So and you can tell right away. Great to talk to. He's the kind of guy you root for, right?
Yes.
He's the kind of guy you look at and you say he does the right things. He says the right things. He prepares himself. He comes to the rink every day. He's a great example for anybody in the locker room on how to approach the game and how to get yourself ready for it. And I think it's really rubbed off on a lot of guys. I've heard multiple players over the last couple of years talk about the way he plays the game, the way he handles the puck on the wall, the way he spins off. And that was probably the goal you're talking about, right? The spin out of the corner and walked out and jammed it home. He's so strong on that puck and he protects it so well that it's not only effective in the defensive zone, trying to get out of the zone, which he uses a lot in that situation, but now he's starting to find that confidence. And I really do think that's what it is with him. I think the light's gone on for him and he understands that if he continues to do those things, the puck will go in the net for him. And now he leads the Edmonton Oilers in goals and is having a fantastic season. 36 goals last year, no stretch of the imagination that he's going to at least duplicate that again, especially with the line that he's playing on and where he is in the lineup column. But I also think it's him. I think it's just a guy that's found his stride, and it shows with his body language even more now. He doesn't cheat the game ever, and as a result, the game is rewarding him.
I actually like that as a segue to talk about Evan Bouchard, because it is a confidence thing and a finding yourself thing, and it feels like he's getting there. I know when I sort all my fancy stats that Kip teases me about, he's pretty high up there, and a lot of them, Corsi is in, shot attempt stuff. He controls a lot of the play when he's out there, and I know he's been effective for them in the power play too. Is he kind of, showing that he's the guy they thought he could be?
Absolutely. And I think, you go back to last year, Matthias Ekholm comes on board and they pair Matthias with Evan Bouchard. And I just think it was the perfect fit. Mm-hmm. It was a veteran, grizzled defenseman, and Matthias Ekholm was a real leader. And I mean, you can't speak enough about what he brings to the table. I think I've liked him his entire career, but now watching him on a nightly basis, just the little things and the details of his game, the physicality, he's a born leader. He's just one of those guys that's in the trenches of the game. And I think that putting him with Bouchard was the perfect move. It allowed Bouchard to be stabilized by a defenseman that talks a lot, that communicates with him both on and off the ice, on the bench, and just allows him to do what he needs to do to be successful as a player. And it does start with the offense, Justin. I really think when you look at offensive players, that's how they judge their game. They always have. I mean, right from his early days in London, where he was lighting up the league as a defenseman and he was making those plays and he logged a lot of ice time, they expect to have that puck on their stick a lot. They expect to make plays and they expect to put up points. And when that's not going that way, you start to struggle and you start to fight the game a little bit, because if that's not going, it usually means that the other side isn't going as well. For Evan Bouchard, when he starts to play free, which is the toe drags you see on a nightly basis, the shot that he's been using, leads all defensemen in shots, or did up until the last couple of games, and I haven't checked that stat, but there's a confidence there with him releasing the puck, with him getting that puck and knowing that he has that caliber of a shot, that it's the right play to shoot the puck instead of passing it off. And I think early in his career, he would get that puck and he'd look and go, okay, well, there's Draisaitl, there's McDavid, there's Nugent Hopkins, there's, Hyman or whoever it is in front of the net that's a pretty darn good player too. And should I shoot that puck or should I pass it? Right. There's no hesitation now. When he knows he's in a good spot to shoot it and it's time to shoot it, he's owned that. And as a result, he's standing a little taller and he has that confidence offensively. But now, if you watch him defensively, and I don't think he gets enough credit, great players, and I talk about offensive players, typically understand how to get the puck back. That's the one thing they're really good at, is they want that puck. They have a desire to have it on their stick. And if you want it bad enough, you know how to get it back. And he's learned to use his feet to check a little bit. He's learned to use his stick. When he gets in trouble is when he's not skating, when he's not moving, when he's not anticipating, when he starts to think a little bit too much. And I think you could probably say the entire Oilers team was doing that a little bit too much early in the season. I've noticed him a lot lately, Justin, on defensive plays in the neutral zone. He made a real nice one on the one goal last night where he made the defensive play in the neutral zone, a one-handed slash on the puck to bounce it back to McDavid. It was tic-tac-toe in the back of the net. And, for me, that's just a real kind of microcosm of the difference from this team now than it was at the start of the year. That probably would have been a broken play in the neutral zone. You had 3 forwards that were high, a defenseman that was aggressive. It would have been an outnumbered rush against, which, we all know they led the league in outnumbered rushes against and outnumbered goals against early in the season, and they've really cleaned that up. But a big part of it is the confidence in the defense core playing the right way and playing with a little more assertiveness and free.
Lou, I got to ask you on the topic of defense, young players, first-round picks, Philip Broberg. I know there's some mixed signals on whether or not his agent's allowed to find another team out there or not, but this was a high pick. This is a 8th overall pick, Louie. And there's a real sense that his time's out in Edmonton and he's just going to move on. Is there anything that could save this and he could still be the defenseman that they once thought?
I think there's always a chance. You know what? I had a son that went through the same thing, who was not happy in a situation, but found a way to kind of come back into the lineup and have a big impact in that lineup and play the way he wanted to play. I think for Philip, when I look at his game, and listen, he was a player coming into the season that I felt we wanted to see another step from. But unfortunately for him, he never really got the opportunity to really dig into the season. With the way the season started, with the negativity around this team, and just with the way things were going, he kind of found himself on the outside looking in again. And it was a real difficult situation. And I will say this, they kept putting him on the right side. And I'm going to tell you right now, any young defenseman that's trying to find your way in the National Hockey League has to play on his natural side. That's just my opinion. You can agree with it or disagree with it, but I think he needs to play on the left. And that's where they are stronger. They're stronger on the left side, and there just wasn't room to put him into the lineup on a regular basis and see the minutes that he needed to see to find his game and feel successful at this level. I think there's a player there. I really do. I know we haven't seen that big jump that everybody was expecting, but he's put on some size. He looks bigger. He's skating well. The best place for him right now is down the American Hockey League to play a ton of minutes and then go from there. Go down to the American Hockey League in Bakersfield. He was put down there yesterday. Go down, play a role, play the way you can play, and then when you get your next opportunity, whenever that does come, whether it be with the Edmonton Oilers or somewhere else, you're ready for that opportunity to step in and have an impact. I don't think they want to trade him, guys. I really don't. I think he's a player in their depth, in their system that they know they're going to need to rely on. When you look at what they have down in Bakersfield, he's probably the first call up every single time. So I think they want to try and get him some time and minutes in the NHL if they can. But obviously, if it's the end of the road for him, then maybe the move is the right call and see what you can get for him. His stock isn't very high right now, and that's unfortunate being an 8th overall pick. I mean, from a club's perspective, they're looking at this like, okay, well, we need to obviously get something back for Philip Broberg. We're not just going to give an asset like him away. And we've seen it many times throughout the years, guys, where a young prospect who didn't pan out on one team goes somewhere else and really flourishes in the role that you expected him to be as a player. So I think they're a little bit leery of that, and they want to give it a little more time to make sure that they maybe can still get him to buy in and want to be part of this team.
Louie, last one from me. Before we had you on, we had Yorkie talking about Ottawa, and we had him handicap the Atlantic Division a little bit. Want to talk about the teams around Edmonton and where their place is in that division. right now they're still chasing Calgary, Vancouver, LA, Vegas. Are they as good as these teams? Are they in that tier? I'm trying to figure out where this team is going to end up by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, good question. And I think everybody's trying to figure out that. And, I'll give you two answers. My first answer is I think the next game is the most important game. Right now, the way they're chasing the standings and chasing where they are, they need to just concentrate on putting wins on the board. And that's what they have done. And I think a big reason why they've taken the focus off of how many wins do we have to have? What do we have to do record-wise by the end of the year to get into the playoffs? That was the mentality, I think, when Chris Knobloch took over, and rightfully so. This is a team that expects to be in the top 8, expects to be in the top 3 of the division, and expects to go on a run. So for them right now, by putting into smaller sample sizes and saying, listen, let's take this one game at a time. Let's make sure we're focusing on the things that we can control and just start to climb that ladder as they have done. I do think, as another answer to you, I think they are as good as those teams. I truly do. Yeah. And I think those other teams know it. Yeah. That's the thing. I think those other teams look right now and say, uh-oh, Edmonton's found their game, and now they're playing the way they can play, and they're on their heels, and they feel that. Now, there's teams that have created huge buffers. The Vegas Golden Knights came out to a great start. The Los Angeles Kings on a tear right now, playing well. I mean, great hockey teams. But I would still tell you that in this division, they are one of the top 3 teams in the division. I know the record doesn't say it right now, but I'll stand by that. They're as good as any team in this division on any night. And that's the way they have to play. But I'll go back to my previous answer and say, I think the focus has to be small right now because they're trying to dig themselves out of that hole that they dug for themselves early in the season.
Louie, always great stuff. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
Great job on the Zoom.
You guys.
Appreciate it, Louie. Thanks.
Louie DeBrusk, Hockey Night in Canada. Sportsnet does it all.
It's funny, we just had a chat about the Oilers. They're back. The Oilers are back. Well, they're 10-12. But they are back.
They lose 2 in a row, and they're not back.
Yeah. Well, they put themselves in a tough spot, but they're humming.
I'm happy they're back.
Yeah.
I don't there's a rivalry between Leafs fans and Oilers fans. It's but you want them to be good. You want them to be, you don't want Connor McDavid wallowing away there and having them not be relevant. He's the biggest star in the league. You want them to be relevant for the general hockey, ecosystem. It's just better when they're good. So you want it.
They are caught between a rock and a hard place right now with Philip Broberg, their first-round pick.
Well, it does feel like, okay, we're not getting what we want out of this guy. There's nothing to be gained by trading him except losing the potential upside if he finds it.
That's the dilemma here. And they can't just sit around and wait either.
No?
They don't have that luxury.
Well, they could.
Okay. But do you think for 1 second, as is, that team's good enough to go to a Stanley Cup final?
No, not even close.
Not even close. It's like the Leafs. You can say all you want.
Yeah. They're not,
that blue line's not getting it done.
Yeah, both teams are probably 3 players from, beating the best team in the division.
The
best team in the conference.
So you have this first pick, 8th overall. What year? 2018?
2018. So I looked at the draft.
Oh, no.
And it's not really.
What did they pass on?
Not nothing really that bad, I will say.
Who's behind him?
It was Zegras was the next pick. So, I mean, everybody's.
Yeah, but he's such a previous Oiler pick. He's the type of guy they had been getting.
Podolkin from Vancouver. I nailed that one.
Yeah.
Soderstrom, Arizona. Boldy, Spencer Knight, Cam York, Cole Caulfield. Yeah. Newhook, Krebs. It's not like you passed on. It's not like the Bruins when they took those 3 guys in front of Barzal.
Right. Oh, that's an all-timer.
It's just, that was 20. Sorry, I had the draft. 2019 was the year.
So it was reported last week, I guess, that his agent, Darren Ferris, had permission to go shop a deal for him.
Yeah.
And then Ken Holland the other day says, no, I didn't give permission.
That actually also just happened with Tyson Barrie in Nashville, where he was given permission to talk to teams, and Barry Trotz is like, hey, 2 people knew about that, so your agent can go kick rocks, basically.
Okay, and let's just say it for what it is.
Okay.
Every agent is out there making calls, trying to get
Spread the word.
Trying to get deals done. It happens all the time.
So
if
players
they're not
who
calling,
play for teams have their agents call other teams and say,
they
"Hey,
just
my
do
player
it
would be
on
interested."
their own.
If
they sit there and they're not liking their client's situation, they will call other teams and say,
"Do you like my guy?
Do you like my guy? Would you trade for him?"
So old Milstein just lost his head and had seen enough on Zadorov and was like, "I'm going public,
And then
going rogue."
and then the agent
Do it
goes
live.
to another.
Fine, we'll do it
Then
live.
the agent goes to the team that has his disgruntled client.
Yeah.
It says, "Hey, maybe you want to call Montreal, or maybe you want to
Not saying
call."
just maybe.
And this is how many deals get put together. Agents start them.
Agents.
Mm.
Agents. We should have more
So
agents on
it's
our show.
it's not okay. So I didn't give him permission. He's doing it anyways.
Yeah.
You know he's doing it anyways. It's what happened was it's embarrassing for Ken Holland.
I didn't
hear.
Yeah, I didn't give them
public.
permission to be public with it.
When insiders go on and say the agents, going out there has permission. Like I said to you, the joke is it's like, that's the team or the general manager saying, I got nothing here.
I can't find anything.
I am out of ideas. And it's not a great look.
It's like me when I'm looking for something at home and my wife says, "Fine, I'll come look."
But-
and I'm like, "Oh, she's going to find it."
But every agent, that's what they do.
Yeah.
They make calls. They're trying to find fits for their client.
Yeah.
And that's just
That's just the way it is. I'm a good singer. I know.
You are. You nailed that.
like one agent trying to get a client $600 million.
But yeah,
Is it Jon
to me,
Rahm's agent?
but to me, Broberg is a type of guy that, like Louie alluded to there, haunts you. That he's young enough, he's got enough pedigree. You trade him away, he goes
Or
to the right situation, or you let
He's
him.
a bust.
Exactly. And that's where the guys make millions of dollars to be general managers in the NHL to weigh those kind of decisions. But like, you put him in the right situation with somebody, and I don't know.
But how long can the Edmonton Oilers wait or sit on Broberg when they have to win right now?
Well, the implication you're making is that they could get someone who could help them win right now for a guy who can't play in the league.
Okay,
It might
hold
be
on.
a bust.
Time out.
Oh.
Like, can Broberg get you someone that can help you win right now?
That's the question. At
That's
the root
the
of
question. Like, what's his value out there? What do you think you can get for him? Another
if
struggling
I'm a
player?
playoff team, he can have one of my current NHL players, and I'll bet on the upside, right? Like if I'm the Blackhawks, I'll say, "Would you like the Mackenzie Entwistle? You may have
Jason
one,
Dickinson?
You may have one Entwistle,
Yeah.
and we'll take the potential upside of a Broberg."
I
don't know.
My perspective is I know he hasn't been good, but he's 6'4", he's 22 years old, and he's, I know he's not been great, but it just feels a little risky
You
to give up.
can't also give up an $800,000 salary and then go get a $2 million or $4 million defenseman. That makes no sense either on the salary cap.
My theory on guys like Broberg, in my limited time in the American Hockey League as a player and coach, is that the teams know. They know if they think Broberg is going to be it or not. Like so that's what this comes down to. If they don't think he's going to be
They're
it,
not clamoring for Broberg.
teams are not. But I'm saying his team knows.
Yeah. I talked to two other teams that said if Edmonton's serious about changing the makeup of their blue line, they're going to have to get creative and include their first round draft pick, which,
I guess if you're looking for a significant piece,
if they want to try to
any
win the
team has
Stanley
to
Cup,
trade real assets.
they've got to make it attractive around Broberg.
if you're trading a first rounder, though, you're getting a guy whose salary is
Well, that's the creative part of moving money in and moving money out.
They've done well to hold, they have their first, second, and this year, fifth and sixth, and next year they have first.
They've got
third.
some pieces to play with.
They still have all their first round picks the next 3 years.
Meanwhile, Tree Living's on our show yesterday going, what do you want me to trade?
Which is surprising to me for a team that's been going after it so long here with McDavid. Them to have all their first round picks is somewhat surprising. Game time?
Let's do it.
All right. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Just the check in on the Ohtani odds, same as they were yesterday. So plus 150 Blue Jays, minus 175 for the Dodgers. Hasn't been a ton of movement there. So they don't, nothing's changed because they have no idea.
Pleased to report that a UK outlet called Mail Sport has
don't even
Toronto Blue Jays is the front runner to sign him. So a UK outlet that I've never heard of till this moment.
As a lifelong Blue Jays fan, my go-to source for Blue Jays stuff is that article.
It's like a tabloid from Britain.
I love that.
Unconnected.
I love that they're just getting in on it. Everybody's like,
we too would like the traffic on our articles.
I think if Ohtani ends up in Los Angeles with the Dodgers, he would have picked the second best contract offer.
Oh yeah, financially.
I got to think the Blue Jays are offering him a package that is so beyond just a X amount for your salary.
And
this has got global implications for the Blue Jays.
You'll have the most
with
money,
the offer.
You'll have a whole country. He has been offered through Rogers a guest spot on Kyper and Bourne every week.
Yeah, anytime he wants.
Anytime he's allowed to come on our show. So that may put him over the edge.
I don't know where we're going to fit him in.
I mean, we would even allow him to come on here and announce it if he wants.
He could produce if he wants.
Absolutely. I'll go work at the beer store, boys. It's a lot of games tonight, but I wouldn't say a ton of really excellent matchups. And there's a few that are pretty big favorites. And to me, I'm going to put together a 4-team super favorite parlay, which always works in the NHL.
Yeah.
But I want to lay this out for you.
Okay.
Bruins over Sabres, Kings over Habs, Red Wings over Sharks, and Devils over Squids pays plus 338. Who's the team that screws me?
Buffalo.
Buffalo?
Yeah, Buffalo.
In Boston, they're screwing me?
Buffalo's desperate.
Okay.
They need it bad. But I like the Cowards parlay.
Thank
that
you.
is a
Jersey.
JD Bunkus throwback.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. Devils
they could screw you.
over the Squids in Seattle.
You know which one I like tonight? You can give me odds on. Maybe it's not immediately available. But
I got it
the
right here.
Islanders are playing Columbus. The Islanders just blew a lead, and I think they're going to tighten it up defensively. They don't score. What is the over/under on the game? Is it a 6.5 game?
It is a 6 total.
Yeah, I like an under. I like
Okay.
the low-scoring game.
The under pays plus 105.
Oh, yeah.
And one other one I have for tonight to just look at, it's Ducks and Blackhawks. So Leo Carlson versus Connor Bedard, the first and second picks.
Old meaningless bowl.
Yeah, but 1 versus Pitt, 2, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Both of them to score a goal pays plus 600. So there you go. Little super rookie parlay for you. And that was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll kind of extend that Edmonton Oilers story to Rod Brindamore last night, who his team took a kick in, but he gave one epic bench interview to Darren Pang, and it's my favorite so far I've ever seen. Best, and we're going to play it after the break on Real Kyper and Bourne. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Yesterday we talked a little bit about Carolina having a decent record. I think they were 14-9-1 going into Edmonton, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't like them right now. And then they got their lunch fed to them.
5-4-1 in the last 10.
Got
2 straight
beat up.
losses. A very good team. They're an even goal differential team.
Boys, the play McDavid made to set up Hyman for the hat trick,
Yeah.
the toe drag into the middle, no look onto the tape. I was like, oh, he's back.
They should probably hire Chris Berman just to go whoop every time he does. This is the only thing he does for the broadcast.
Head coach of Carolina, Rod Brindamore. Many of us give him the nod as being arguably one of the best coaches in the league.
Mm-hmm.
He's also looking for a new contract, by the way.
Winning American Ninja Warrior, definitely. He would definitely be my top pick.
So, in my era, a bench interview would never have happened in a gazillion years.
But it
But
still
I
doesn't
gotta-
happen in Canada.
I got to think, we're not doing them? We don't
I
do
don't
them?
think
never do them.
No.
I've never seen one.
I don't think we're allowed.
that by
I think we
choice?
ask. No, I think it's like in the TNT or ESPN deal. Like that. This is one of the
Are
things.
you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't think we're able to do it.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I'm totally over my skis here. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
I would imagine we would be doing them if we were
really.
able to, wouldn't you think?
Because I think they're just god awful.
Yeah, they're mostly a colossal. I'm sure that's why our people are like, yeah, we don't. Okay, whatever.
They're doing them because they're probably strongly recommended to do them. That's why I thought they did them.
Yeah,
and they're usually nothing. But
unless
you're Rod Brindamore last night, and Darren Pang, he's down 5-0. I felt for Panger.
And where is it? I think the second had just started or end of the first.
Yeah. And I just felt for Panger.
It was in the second.
He's getting like, okay, go ask him a question. And Panger's like, oh, that might have been the hardest job he's ever had.
Yeah.
Last night, going to talk to Rod Brindamore.
Well, let's
This is the question, and this was the answer.
Well, Rod, obviously a disappointing start to this game. Anything you're seeing out here that you can build on?
We're on our way to losing 50-0 right now. I've never seen our team play this brutal. So at this point, I don't really. I'm lost for words, to be quite honest. We weren't ready to start, which was clear, and now we're just kind of doing things not the way we do it, and this is what you get. So at this point, we're probably turning the page.
What a guy for giving an answer, though.
Well, he does seem like a beauty.
He didn't no chuckles either, eh?
Say, well, Peg.
I think he
50-0.
I think he honestly believed that it could be 50-0.
See, I think people mishear it. I think he's actually doing the math and he says 15. I think he says we're on our way to losing 15-0.
50.
No, 15-0.
Right,
it's all one word, 15-0.
What?
Let's have it again. Give me the clip again.
Let's hear it one more time. I heard 50.
We're on our way to losing 50-0 right now.
50. Nice
50.
try.
I think it's 15-0.
Really nice try. So what is the worst in the NHL? Sammy?
Ever? Oh, I don't know.
Someone told me 15.
Okay, I'll look it up right now.
And it wasn't like in 1940 or something. That was like
Newsy Lalonde had 13 goals.
Kind of modern.
Better than Gino.
I think it was 15. 15-0.
Rasmus Ristolainen was -7
Detroit
in that game
was involved
somehow.
with it.
I'm just looking through these. I'm just on a website here. I don't know if any of these are true.
Website.com.
I'm putting you to work, Sammy, as a producer.
I'm digging here.
Okay.
I see a 14-4 that the Leafs were involved in.
Which side?
Sabres beat them 14-4.
Yeah.
All right. I just got I got 82-0.
Huh?
Yeah. I got 82-0 in international hockey.
Oh,
this
is it a women's game?
Yeah, women's game.
Yeah, I vaguely remember
Slovakia versus Bulgaria.
Pretty lopsided affair. Don't think the Bulgarians had a lot of attempts.
82-0. Like, what do you say in the last...
rolling your first power play unit out there in the third period?
Maybe just...
The Red Wings won 15-0 in 1944 against the New York Rangers.
All right.
Okay, I have March 3rd, 1920. The Montreal Canadiens beat the Quebec Bulldogs 16-3.
What do you say, like, in the last 2 minutes? Let's finish strong.
Just set the tone. Set the tone for next game.
Like, hey, ladies, take your foot off the gas a little bit.
Hey, we've noticed you have 20 goals and 40 assists.
Yeah.
Could you maybe
dial
dump
her
it
back
in next shift?
Couple
of times.
God.
I'm going to go to a 0-0-5 forecheck here. That's aggressive.
Is everybody going straight home, or anybody want to go out after the game?
Everyone wants to go straight out after that game. Yeah.
Penguins power play.
It's bad. It's really bad.
They are 0 for their last 34.
You're taking Kyle Dubas' enjoyment out of this?
No.
Really?
But I think bafflement.
I told you my thoughts on this. I do not cheer against the Penguins because I love Sidney Crosby too much. I love Sidney Crosby way more than I dislike Kyle Dubas. So I cheer for Sid.
But like 0 for 34 is by my math, 68 minutes of gameplay in which you've had 4 Hall of Famers on the ice.
Yeah, this isn't.
If you played even strength in 68 minutes with those guys on the ice, you would expect to score 7 goals.
This isn't
4,
the 1920 Quebec Bulldogs here.
This is not the Quebec Bulldogs. It's insanity that this team cannot score power goals. No. In fact, Anders Lee may think it's really bad too.
I'm going to full on blame Carlson. How's that sound?
Okay.
I'm just going to blame him. Like, I just think that this just throws it off. Like, I think there's not enough pucks. It's the classic, like, not enough ball. Who's going to have the ball situation? And it's just, there's no rhythm. I know one's got to bounce in eventually off someone's butt. It's crazy to go that long, but like, it's obviously, was it good last year? I don't even know, but like, from it being this bad, what's the difference here? They brought in a guy that needs the puck all the time.
They should put Letang out there just so it's different.
Well, they had them both out there.
Yeah, I know, which is crazy to me.
It's also not great.
2 D-man in this era, it never happens.
You just wonder how that whole thing kind of played out between the negotiation between Kyle Dubas and Pittsburgh Penguin and the mandate to.
You think he said, you come here, you'll run the power play.
You come here, you got to help Sidney Crosby win right now. And then it was like, okay, what's the best way? Go get the defenseman that just scored 100 points.
If you ever find yourself in a situation where you're saying, Erik Karlsson, we need you to help Sidney Crosby win, you've done your math backwards. Last year, Pittsburgh Penguins.
That's an excellent point by you.
Had the 14th best power play
so
in the NHL at 21.7%.
So the definition of mid.
Yeah, they were intensely mid, and now they're bad. Intensely bad.
We expect Pat Kane to pick up where he left off before this hip issue.
Shakira. See the hips tonight.
Plays tonight.
Yeah.
Brinkett and him got some magic coming.
I think it's a pretty good spot to start. San Jose Sharks coming to town. They've been on a long roadie.
Yeah.
I would imagine, that building's going to be rocking. He's in there. He's playing with the Brinkett. It's a pretty soft landing, I would say. The Sharks been playing well, don't get me wrong, but they are still bad. So I would expect that tonight they look pretty good and he looks good and we get a little bit excited about it, but I'm not overly moved by it, if I'm being honest.
I am excited to see it, though. Like,
look weird in that unit.
One of the games, it's red. I think the color makes a difference. It's similar to the Blackhawks.
The Red Wings and Blackhawks were blood rivals for a long time during his career. Like, it's very weird for him. Yeah, like I think about
13.
There's a couple playoff series where it was like the Datsuk era Red Wings, like kind of at the end of their thing with the Blackhawks coming up, and they had some wars. So it's weird for me.
Yeah.
It's a weird one.
I'm just excited. He is such a unique player.
Bobby Orr on the Blackhawks. Like, it's very weird.
But the thing about that is that never happened.
Well, yeah. I mean, it did.
Yeah, I guess in theory.
Yeah, no, it did, didn't it?
No, it did happen. It did happen. I just have not allowed myself to believe that.
Continue, sorry.
Like, Detroit's one of those teams where we're still not sure of, right? They're that mid team that, like, are they going to hang in there? Are they going to hold their spot at number 3 in the Atlantic? If Pat Kane comes in and is feeling really, really good, like, this may help them hold for a while.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where when you have a really good start, it's what the Canucks have done, where you say, we don't believe we're as good as our record. We're still going to add to that and try to shore it up. I think he can help them and, obviously put some pucks in the net. I'm looking at remaining strength of schedules and all that because it feels like, I don't know, they're just kind of mid. So
when you think of player going to new place across sports, what's the weirdest one the first one that comes to mind that's like weird to you? Can you think of one? I'll say Olajuwon and the Raptors was really weird.
That happened.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
How about Brett Favre with the Vikings?
Yeah. Or Jets even too.
Yeah.
But I guess Vikings
He had
was
been
even
somewhere else
yeah,
prior, so it kind of took some of the...
Gretzky in St. Louis.
Never worked.
And I played in a playoff series against them.
Really?
Yeah, Toronto and St. Louis in 96.
Oh,
and
yeah. What happened in that one?
Still weird to remember him as a St. Louis Blue.
Brett Hall is an Arizona Coyote.
Yeah, and he was the one that, the famous Yzerman goal, the bar down slap shot. He was the one who coughed it up to Yzerman.
Oh, Gretzky. That's right, too, yeah.
And he comes over, and that was, by the way, that game was 0-0 in double overtime.
That
a butcher
fest. That's unbelievable way to end it, too.
Yeah.
Matt Duchene playing in 1,000 NHL game, which is still a great number. What a milestone.
1,000 games.
That's a lot of games. I couldn't even get like half. I was at half, barely half.
Yeah, I played less than that. So still a lot of respect for your career there, Kip. The expectations for Matt Duchene when he came in, do you think he's lived up to them? 736 career points in 1,000 games?
How do you look at your top 4 or 5 picks? do you think everybody should be close to getting a franchise type of player, or is it reserved for the top 3, or is it just reserved for the first pick overall? Because there are expectations on the first 5 picks. So Matt Duchene came into the league 2008, maybe?
He was drafted in 2009.
2009.
The Tavares
third
draft.
pick overall.
Behind those 2 guys.
So that year, probably, if I tell you the only sure Hall of Famer bet is Victor Hedman in that whole group.
Yeah, I'm just looking.
Anyone else?
Tavares on the doorstep by the time it's all said and done.
John Tavares would go a long way with the success of the Toronto Maple Leafs to get him into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I'm just going
Stanley Cup.
Like, are you just talking about first rounders or that whole draft? Like,
I don't know.
O'Reilly's a second round pick.
How far you want to go down?
O'Reilly's a second round pick. Ryan O'Reilly. He's played 1,000 games. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, but I think if you're getting a top 5 pick, I think you're right. If you're an owner or if you're a fan, you're expecting
Hall of Famer.
You're expecting to have a guy that's going to make your team be in the conversation.
I think third overall, 1,000 games, 700 points. That's about what you're getting.
Top five NHL draft choices.
Yeah,
you should have pretty good odds to be really close to the Hall of Fame. So John Tavares is in the conversation.
Yeah.
Ryan O'Reilly, I guess, with the Conn Smythe and the Stanley Cup, could get himself in the mix with maybe some more success. But usually the odds are pretty good. If we went down the draft the last 25, 30 years, we find a lot of Hall of Famers in those first 5 picks.
It's funny, the top 7 in that draft have all had good careers. Tavares, Hedman, Duchene, Evander Kane, Braden Shen, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Nazem Kadri, all over 800 games. And then Scott Glennie played 1 game in the NHL.
But Matt Duchene is not in a Hall of Fame conversation.
No.
And will not be.
Matt Duchene, I would say the only disappointing part, probably if you're him, is that he hasn't played in the playoffs much. He's been in the second round once and the first round maybe 4 times. And we're talking about a 15-year career, 14-year career.
Ton.
What's that?
Like it used to be an automatic. You score 1,000 points for playing 1,000 games, you're going to get in the Hall of Fame. That like those days are over now. It's like impact now.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying he hasn't played in the playoffs.
No, I know that. Yeah. That's my whole point. That it's not about games played and scoring points. It's were you an impactful player, especially in the playoffs. That carries a lot of cred right now for voters.
How much though, Kyper, is like you talk about getting in, being 1,000 points, 1,000 games or whatever. Like guys it was harder game earlier. Like when you were playing or even into like the mid 2000s or whatever, the game's changed so much to allow you to play longer.
It's actually, if I was saying to Sam today, like Pierre Engvall, I don't think he's missed a game in his career. He's in Long Island. He plays every game. Like we could be sitting here in 5 years and I don't know, or 8 years and he'll be at 1,000 games. And
I think the number one criteria is, were you a game changer? Did you seriously affect a series or a championship?
If it is regular seasons, were you dragging your team? Were you the most important guy, for some period of time?
Yes.
But Hedman's first ballot Hall of Fame.
Yes, he is.
To me.
In the Broadcasting Hall of Fame.
You? Are you in the Broadcasting?
Did Justin Bourne move the needle on the Real Kyper and Bourne show?
We're not, I got time here.
We're just getting through the week, boys.
Yeah.
Our thanks to Jason York and Louie DeBrusk. If you get a chance, give us a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your many games tonight. We're back tomorrow to discuss it all on the Real Kyper and Bourne show.